I'm born again. Born again to live.
Good Monday morning, everybody, and welcome back to Born Again to Live, episode number 80.
Wow.
I know, right?
I mean, as a child of the 80s, I love the 80s, Eric. So these are going to be the best 10 episodes ever until we get to, 180?
Yeah, I guess.
I'll enjoy it while I got it. So, yay, 80s. Let's go.
Yep, 80 episodes. That's crazy.
Okay.
And if you stuck with us and you've listened to them all, God loves you.
I mean, or God love you. I don't know how to say that one, but yeah, we got Chris binge listening to all of them in what did he say, 2 days?
2 days, he did
Crazy.
70 episodes, guys. That's insane.
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't show up at Big Blue and run the other way when he heard our annoying voices, but he's sticking around. So I've might need to put something on that door to keep it from blowing open. But yeah, we are here. It's a beautiful day in Wardensville. Sun is out, blue skies, and I'm just excited to be here talking about our favorite person.
Yeah, King, not yet King David. Last week we started the journey of David. We're going to continue the journey of David. And last we left off, David had started on the run. And in starting on the run, he was running for his life, even though I don't think he had a reason to run for his life.
Right. I think he was just, he knew he was going to be king, but he just was killing time.
Yeah. So we skipped a little bit. I think we skipped 20 because there's a whole long story we told you about how David and Jonathan were friends, and Jonathan warned David about the coming disaster of his dad chasing him.
Yeah.
So we skipped that. We went to 21, and we start in 21 with the story of David and the holy bread. And the only reason I really think we need to hit on this is because later in the Bible, Jesus talks about this event.
Yeah.
And if it's important enough, Jesus brings it back up. We probably should dig a little deeper in it and find out what it means to us and what it matters to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, David shows up at Nob, N-O-B. And he enters the temple and the priest is there and he's like, why are you alone? Is no one with you? Right? Because, everyone still thinks of David as the commander of Saul's armies. This is the day and age before Twitter. So it took a while for people to catch up on the news. And, David's like, no, I'm on a secret mission. I don't have that many men, but, give me 5 loaves or whatever you can find. So in verse 4 of 1 Samuel 21, the priest answered David, I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there is some consecrated bread here, provided the men can keep themselves from women. And so that was the Old Testament way of being clean, right? So that's what he was referring to. If your men are clean, it's okay to have this consecrated holy bread. And David replied, indeed, women have been kept from us as usual whenever I set out. The men's bodies are holy even on missions that are not holy. How much more so today? So the priest gave him the consecrated bread, since there was no bread there except the bread of the presence that has been removed from before the Lord and replaced by hot bread on the day it was taken away. So they're constantly putting this bread before the Lord. And yeah, it's in that holiest of holies.
Yep.
And
table.
Yeah, and so this is the bread that David's like, yeah, just give that to us so we can eat it.
Tells a small little lie just to get it. He's on a mission from the king.
Yeah.
Well, he technically is. He's on a mission from the king to not die.
Yeah, that is true. Well, and he is the king, so
I guess technically he's not lying if he is the king, right?
Yeah, so he was a little sneaky on that one.
The benefit of the doubt.
Yes, we will. Because I don't think God would, be after the heart of a liar. So yes, that was him saying what he needed to say, but leaving it open for interpretation, obviously. So then David, he says, don't you have a spear or a sword here? I haven't brought my sword or any other weapon because the king's mission was urgent. And obviously, because I think he fled so quickly, he just didn't have anything with him.
Yeah.
The priest replied, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no sword here but that one. And then I love this last part. David said, there is none like it. Give it to me. I mean, he earned it, so hey.
Amy skipped over verse 7, and that's kind of funny because I gave her those books I told you guys about.
Good.
And this guy, it says, now a certain man of the servant of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord. His name was Doeg, the Edomite. In those books I gave Amy, he's actually a key figure in those books. So I'm curious to learn what Amy thinks when she reads these books about that guy, because it's kind of funny to, like, he's an overlooked person, but later he has a prominent role. And so I think that's the guy that Saul had to follow David to try to figure out where he was at.
Okay, so he's like the spy, basically. Okay.
But he's an Edomite. He's not even
Yeah.
an Israelite. So it's kind of interesting that he's in the service of Saul, king of the Israelites, and he's an enemy.
Yeah. No, that must have been why I glossed over it, Eric. I'm trying to tell the story.
No, it's all good. But so anyways, Jesus talks later in Scripture about this moment where David eats of the bread, because the Pharisees are giving his disciples a hard time over eating grain heads on the Sabbath, which I had somebody tell me one time grain heads could still be like ears of corn.
Okay.
So maybe they plucked an ear of corn, not a piece of wheat.
Right.
And they were eating an ear of corn, let's say. But so the Pharisees are giving Jesus this runabout, like, how can your disciples do this on the Sabbath? And he says, have you not heard of the story of David and the bread of the presence? And I guess that's Jesus's reasoning, that when necessary, we do what we have to do for God.
Yeah.
And that's what he was telling them, like, hey, these guys are right here. They'll fast later in life when I'm not here. But when you're in the presence of the king, then you have to.
Right.
You have to eat. And so I think it's cool that Jesus brought this story back up, because it's in the Bible for a reason. God wouldn't have left it in there if it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then Jesus wouldn't have brought it back up if it didn't matter. So I just like that these two tie together with the whole thing. So it's kind of cool. And like I said, I don't know that David lied, but it looks like a lie. Well,
I mean, it only sounds like a lie when you're assuming the king is Saul. But again, David was anointed king, so it's worded in a bit of a sneaky way, I think. But yeah, technically maybe not. Because I feel like Jesus would have called him out on that too, right?
Yeah. I don't think he would have been using it as an example if he's calling it out. So it's kind of an interesting thought. But if you want to read all of this, guys, we're summing it up a little shorter.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of verses in this thing. But go back and read them. It starts in where we told you in the beginning with the first one, and it'll go for a long time.
Yes.
I think it ends all of 1 Samuel, basically.
Pretty much, yes. Well, and I love how at the end of this little chunk I just read, we leave off by David getting Goliath's sword, because again, it's a temple. They're like, we don't have an army here. We don't have weapons. And that was definitely like a war trophy.
Yeah.
And so that's why that was there. But it was the only weapon they had. And David's like, yeah, I'll take it. But then I think, as you were saying, like, kind of the funny part is what happens next. Where does he go, Eric?
Yeah. So David flees to Gath. It says in verse 10, and David rose and fled that day from Saul and went to Achish.
Yeah.
Ashish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said to him, is this not King David of the land? They did not sing to one another of him in dances. Saul has struck down thousands, and David has struck down 10,000s. Like, even the Philistines know
that song.
Like, no wonder he's hunted by the king, Saul. When even the Philistines know, hey, he killed 100 or 10,000s of us. They're saying about themselves, and it's really funny to me. So verse 12 there, and David took these words to heart, and was much afraid of Achish. Sounds like Achish, the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before them and pretended to be insane in their hands, and made marks on the doors of the gate, and let the spittle run down his beard. I mean, David is resourceful. That's what we'll go with.
Yes.
Like, again,
Yeah.
he needed food. He got food. He now runs to the enemy who he kills,
Mm-hmm.
acts like a crazy person,
Holding his sword, by the way.
the sword of the guy he killed to get this title, and just acts crazy.
Yeah.
And the king's response is basically, this dude's crazy. Why are you bringing him to me? Why would you bring him to me? What am I going to do with a crazy guy? Let him go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's, again, I'm not sure what the lesson God has for us in that, but he put it in here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's to use your resources, use your wit that God gave you, use whatever God's given you to get through that situation, or if it's just he found humor in it, maybe. I don't know. But I just find it cool that, like, he flees to the enemy who he got famous for killing,
Yeah.
and then they just like, yeah, he's crazy. Just blow that off. We don't care about him.
Yeah. Well, and it says he was a little fearful of this king, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, David has not, up to this point, been very afraid, but he's a little bit fearful in this situation. And, yeah, I don't know. I do wonder about what you're saying. He, you know, up to this point, he's been obedient to God, but he's wandering a bit now. Like, he's not quite sure, you know, what's coming next, and he's got to do what he's got to do to survive. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the lesson that God's trying to show us, or maybe it is just the humility of David. Like, he could just, you know, put the sword in the ground and say, by golly, I'm king and I'm going to act like it.
Yeah.
And instead he's kind of wandering around like this hobo, just getting by. So there's some humility and timing and patience there. So you got to love him
And
for
you're
it.
going to think that he could have killed the people in Gath if he really tried. Like,
Yeah.
he went in there. I know he's had a small army of like 300 with him,
Right.
but still, he could have went in there and probably cleaned that place because he had God with him, and God goes before him all the places that he goes in all these battles.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes in and acts crazy, doesn't kill people, doesn't make other people in his war. That's not God's mission in this.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting little tidbit, I guess, in the Bible. That why did he act crazy?
I mean, it's another question we'll ask him when we're sitting down together at dinner
Yeah, while we're dancing with him.
with all our might. Yeah.
So then we go over to 1 Samuel 22, and the first section there talks about David departing and going to the caves.
Yes.
He spent a lot of times in these caves, and I'm not sure exactly which section of Israel or joining countries or wherever this was.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was in Israel. I think it was outside.
Right. Well, I think it wasn't that why he went to the area of Gath, was to hide in their cave. So, yeah, I don't know what part of modern day, you know, the Middle East we're talking about at this point, but
it says here in verse 1 that, and when his brothers and all his father's house heard, they went down there with him. So he's starting to gather people with him.
yeah.
Which is kind of interesting and cool because he's not really needing to fight and he's not wanting to fight, but he's gathering like an army.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find it interesting. Why is he building an army if he's not going to really need him? So,
Yeah.
so anyways, he goes on down and goes to Moab and gets his mother and father to stay there. And his actual statement is, please let my father and my mother stay with you till I know what God will do for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and he left them there. He left them in Moab while he was trying to figure out what God was going to do with her.
Yeah.
And the thought process and why he is a man after God's own heart is that right there, that he didn't know what God was going to do with him, but he knew God was going to do something for him. Like,
Yeah.
he knew he was already king, but he needed to figure out what God was going to do for him in this situation.
Yeah.
That's the trust. That's the relationship you got to have.
Absolutely. Well, it does talk about Doeg the Edomite again, huh?
Yeah. You'll find that guy in the books, and I think you're all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy who actually killed all the priests at Nob.
Yeah.
Yeah, he,
Why did he do that?
well, none of the Saul's men would, because they feared the priests,
Yeah.
but he's not from their country and not of their religion.
Right.
So he had no problem killing them all when they wouldn't tell him where David was.
Huh.
But that's the next part of 22, folks. That goes from verse 6 all the way to the end of that chapter, basically is the killing of the priest and the fall through of that, like the fallout of that, I guess.
Mm.
And yeah, it's kind of crazy that there was one that lived, Elimelech.
Mm-hmm.
He lived, I think. Yeah, it was him. And he escaped to David. So David has a priest on his side now with him too, as long with this army. So it's just an interesting that this is what they're building. Like, who's in David entourage, basically? Like, who's he got with him? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Saul's got outsiders and killing priests and all that, and David's building a royal army of good people. So,
Yep.
and then we get to 1 Samuel 3 or 23, and this is actually kind of funny. When David has his army with him, he's down and the Philistines are fighting against Kailash and robbing the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, shall I go and attack the Philistines? And the Lord told David to go and attack the Philistines and save this place. So he's on the run.
Yeah.
He's hiding from Saul. He's going to these caves. He's going to these different places, acting like a crazy man, building a little army,
Yeah.
but he's still doing God's work.
Yeah, he's still defending his people and helping out when he can. You gotta love that. And they're probably like, David, is that you? This dude was like Batman, probably, right? Like people that they knew of him, but they didn't know what he looked like. And this just random band of 300 men can come and attack and win. Like, I'm sure the people are like, much like Saul, who is that guy? Who did you say you were again?
Yeah. So there's a story there that where he saves them, and then it goes to where, in verse 15, we start with David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph.
Why not? Ziph, yeah.
And Jonathan, Saul's son, rose and went to David at Horesh,
Yeah, I guess so. Haresh. Mm-hmm.
and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Saul my father also knows this.
Wow.
Yeah, like, again, David's friendship with Jonathan is something to behold.
It really is.
Because Jonathan, he's probably an unsung hero in this whole story, because he doesn't ever get to see the glory that is David's kingdom.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Sorry, people. But he's so faithful to God that he's not worried about if he's going to become king.
Yeah.
He knows David's going to be, and he's just trying to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Whether he has to fight against his own father or not.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And in that time, family came over everything, just about. Like, I know Israel wanted God to be first, but a lot of times family was first in these things. And you did whatever it took to defend your family and set up your next generation to succeed. And Jonathan's like, I don't care what the next people do. I'm going with David, and he's not even my house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. So we go through, and that's the end of 23 is still David just getting pursued by Saul.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, since we're out of time today, we're going to pick up with one of my favorite stories of David in 24.
You say that about all the stories, Eric.
And this is the one, I call this the integrity under distress.
For sure.
So just a preview of it, like it's one of those stories that you think about, like, this is where David shows his true colors.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, I know this was a lot of paraphrasing and going through a couple stories, but I think they're vital to knowing who David is and what he was all about. So, stick with us. We got about 6 more months of this. No, we're trying to get through it as fast as we can. So that's why we're paraphrasing a lot of it, not reading a lot of it. But all right, I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Fine.
No longer fear tomorrow. No more shame or sorrow. My past regrets are washed away.
Hey guys, thanks again for joining us today. We want to make you a part of the conversation. So please visit our Facebook page at Born Again to Live the podcast and leave a note or a comment, questions, prayer requests. We just want to hear from you. And while you're at it, please like, subscribe, and share so that others can find out about our podcast. Thank you.